The story of the day. Tyler Robinson, accused of shooting Charlie Kirk, made his first court appearance today in Utah. We'll have a little bit of that. Here we go.
Mr. Robinson, for count one, aggravated murder, a capital felony in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-5-202, in that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, intentionally or knowingly caused the death of Charlie Kirk under the following circumstances. The defendant knowingly created a great risk of death to another individual other than Charlie Kirk and the defendant. Notice conviction of this offense may carry the death penalty or pursuant to Utah Code 76-3-207.7, a mandatory term of imprisonment for life without parole or an indeterminate term of not less than 25 years, and that may be for life.
It better be for, if he is convicted, it better be the death penalty. 1,111%. We cannot tolerate that kind of evil in our society. Sad news today, Robert Redford passes at 89. Of course, everybody, all the President's Men and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, but he had a Moreno Valley connection. The candidate which was based on John Tunney, who was a big friend of the Kennedys, but when he came out from Massachusetts in 69 and how he became a California senator he was stationed at March Air Force Base. And then he later on to become senator of that, and that's what the movie The Candidate was based on, and which I saw as a young lad. And again, that was my favorite Robert Redford movie. Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid was probably number 2. That was a pretty cool one too. Back when I used to watch movies of that, but sad news, Robert Redford, famed actor, passes at 89. Later on, we're going to look at a KGB agent who defected to the United States around 50 years ago. He passed about 25, 26, maybe 30 years ago. But he described how the KGB and communists were going to take over America. And boy, is it eerily reminiscent of what we're suffering today.
Process, which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it.
All you got to do is open your eyes and see. If all the stuff, even including the Charlie Kirk assassination, and what we'll get here in a second, that happened on the U.S. Senate floor, that doesn't open your eyes, I don't know what will. The breakout on the U.S. Senate and there's a couple of them, but Kash Patel was testifying at the U.S. Senate about the hearings, or at the hearings about what happened in Utah. And of course, Adam Schiff, that odious, lying. And this is a fact. Everybody knows he was lying about President Trump, and the whole thing been censured at the Senate. He should be in jail. And this is about then he got onto the Epstein files, which I don't know what that had to do with Utah, but here we go.
People to believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No, I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of inmates. What I am doing is protecting this country, providing historic reforms, and combating the weaponization of intelligence by the likes of you. And we have countlessly proven you to be a liar in Russiagate, in January 6th. You're the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. You're a disgrace to this institution and an utter coward.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised that you continue to lie from your purse and put on a show so you can go raise money for your charade. You are a political buffoon at best.
No truer words have ever been spoken. Adam Schiff is a political buffoon and a liar and a fraud. And it's absolutely incredulous that we, the people, would have elected him in California. It just shows how bad this state is in the tank. We'll get into that, maybe the Cory Booker part again. But heavens to Betsy. With all the things that went on, you think the Cory Bookers and the Adam Schiffs could have toned it down a little bit? Oh, the tears. We'll get into this a little bit. The tears of those who have gotten fired. And why am I getting fired? Because I mocked and I cheered the death of Charlie Kirk, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the political assassination of Charlie Kirk. And now I got fired and everyone's mean to me and I shouldn't have happened. Boy, and oh, isn't that typical? We'll get into this more, and with the Russia part and the KGB agent. And you'll see how you wind up with Mr. Nose Ring over here. Holy bleeping cow. We've said this, we've talked to Dr. Kelly and others ad nauseum about this, the backlash over the whole COVID con. From the Hill, 1 in 6 parents reject vaccine recommendations, poll says. You cry wolf, it's going to have consequences. You lie to the people, oh, the vax will protect you. You'll never get COVID. You'll never spread COVID. You will never die. Well, now it's going to have profound effects. Even the vaccines, and I'm sure there are some, like polio or chickenpox, that are probably good vaccines, most of them, but 72 by the time you're 18, different ones. You're seeing the backlash. We get into this more a little bit. 18-year-olds after 13 years of government education. Yeah, this is the consequence of over half the kids, TK through 12, don't even, not at grade level, don't even have basic reading and math and science skills. This may be the biggest Charlie Kirk legacy moving forward as we go. Just 2 years ago, men aged 18 to 29 were plus Democrats by 26 points. Today in 2025, Republicans, they're registered or identify as plus 18, and that's Pew Research. Pew Research. not part of the Hillary Clinton vast right-wing conspiracy. Of course, Gulag Gavin he never incited any violence. Ever. Not Gav. He would never do that. The son, no on 50. We must. We must vote no on 50. The gerrymandered, exact, the violence, the communist takeover, you being a slave is all wrapped up in this radical rigging of a midterm election, destroying and vandalizing democracy, which means majority rule, which means the dictators and slaves rule. Every time you see democracy, we are not, the United States is not a democracy. The rule of law. Right now, we're walking down a damn different path. We're fighting fire with fire. We're going to punch these son of a bitches right in the mouth. But they want to absolve themselves when Charlie Kirk is murdered. Oh, it's not our fault. Or we didn't incite it. We didn't encourage that. We didn't encourage Mr. Nose Ring over there and whomever. I'm going to join with Arnie on this, and Lord knows I didn't like Arnold Kennedy or Schwarzenegger. But he's going to lead the charge and urge voters, which they should. No, no, no on Prop 50. And Texas is under court order to redistrict. You buffoon. Gavin Newsom, you liar, you inciter. And until you stop, until Mr. Nose Ring and your crew stop, we've got to stop this all across the board. The lying about the vaccines, the idiocracy of making our kids stupid. No more. No mas. Redlands Unified School District settles a sex abuse lawsuit for $1.4 million with the first alleged victim of Laura Whitehurst. We've got trouble in River City, as they say, all across the board. And we better dig deep, get on the stick, and start riding this ship, or is exactly right. If this stuff doesn't wake you up at this point, probably the people listen to me, but if it doesn't wake up more of your neighbors, your coworkers, people you're talking to in the grocery store. So I was at the dollar store, which everything's $1.25 now due to the Biden inflation. And it's increasingly, as you go on in life, it's harder to find people older than me. But the guy in front of me, he was older than me, and he had a can of Dr. Pepper up there. And as I said, dollar store's $1.25. So he lays $1.25. He lays $1.25 up there. And the young lady behind the checker counter says, well, that's $1.41. And he goes, what the hell? So they're supposed to be $1.25. Well, you got whatever goofy taxes and clean air and climate change and plastic bag and refund on the can and everything else. jacks it up another 16 cents. So I said, well, you can thank the governor for that. And this older guy said, again, his skin tone was quite a bit darker than mine, said, yeah, these rotten politicians are taking from us every day. You can't get ahead and da 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 da. So there, and there's a pretty good line. There's only one checker open. There's about 4 or 5 people behind us. He's there. I'm the next in line to be served. So we jib jabbed a little bit. He left, took his can of Dr. Pepper, which probably didn't taste as good. Instead of $1.25 versus 141. So the young lady cashier, probably 19, 20, 18, 19, 20, 21. She was fairly young. And she said, were you talking about Trump? And I said, no, Trump is the president of the United States. The governor is Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom is the one that jacked that can of soda from $1.25 to 141. Donald Trump would have lowered it back down to $1. Hopefully we'll get to that point in the next 4 years. But I did my rendition on purchasing power and wages and stuff. Little short version. I said, think about that. If you haven't already, you should vote again. And it brings me to the Kash Patel senator, and we've had some bad ones here in California, but Senator Adam Schiff, just put in your search engine go.go or start page or one of those, hopefully. Ed Buck and Adam Schiff. Not to mention Russiagate, Russia, Jan 6, everything else that he's lied about. Oh, I got the goods on Trump. Trump ordered the insurrection in January 6th, and on and on and on. Same flag waving because he was in the Congress before he became senator in 24. He's one of those inciters, fascists, real fascists, that have been inciting people like Tyler Robinson and Crooks and whatever that was in Minneapolis, the school shooter. And the list is going on, inciting the violence and Antifa and Black Lives Matter and the whole ICE is, ICE is grabbing people off the street, using running his mouth down in the middle of the streets in LA. He's a total POS. And he's earned the name Pencil Neck that Trump gave him. He's whining and crying about how he wanted to have a special deal on his house and mortgage. And oh, yeah, my principal residence in Maryland. Well, first, that disqualifies you from being a U.S. Senator from California. Even the chick Newsom appointed to fill out old lady Feinstein's seat when she passed. She was in Maryland too or whatever, but she actually, I got a phony apartment. And that, but getting a mortgage on a federal loan and putting false information on it. No lawyer to give legal advice, but in most people's cases, and I think he's getting investigated, maybe indicted. That's a federal crime. So I wanted to get, as the hilarity of it, but you know, the left, the kooks, really, the deep left, people that are center left that want to have a conversation, have a different viewpoint than someone like me or whatever, fine. If I can respect your beliefs, if you're not inciting riots, running false information, like the vaccine story, what do we say from Dr. Kelly on down? Steve Hotze, Barkey, Jay Bhattacharya, the list goes on. If you lie to the people about the vaccine and COVID and all that stuff, and you claim it's a science when you know damn well it isn't. Okay, people are, you're going to get the boy that cried wolf syndrome. You're not. People are not going to believe you like you've seen with vaccine story. Now, there's enough gullible people, almost 60%, that voted for this clown. To be U.S. Senator. Oh, doing all that lying about everything that he got censored and censured in Congress for, and most likely will be indicted on mortgage fraud. And it was all, it's got to tone right, hillbillies, you got to tone it down. They're just right. We should be incarcerating them, if not chopping their heads off, because they're such evil people. That evil Charlie Kirk wore a shirt that said freedom on. How disgusting. That's Adam Schiff's world. So again, this self-righteous, sanctimonious, person that we elected as U.S. Senator here in California. This is the one, Elise Cash Patel. Now, I had a little bit of question about what he's been doing in the FBI, him and Bongino. But at least he doesn't take any crap like Bobby Jr. or Trump or most people in the Trump administration, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, the list goes on, Stephen Miller. They don't take no crap off any world leaders, press, kooks, like Schiff. Here we go.
People to believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No, I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of inmates. What I am doing is protecting this country, providing historic reforms, and combating the weaponization of intelligence by the likes of you. And we have countlessly proven you to be a liar in Russiagate, in January 6th. You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate.
You are the biggest fraud to sit in the United States Senate. Well, that's a big statement. I don't know how many people have probably been U.S. Senator. Probably 500, maybe 1,000 in our 250-year history. We've had some big frauds in the whole enchilada. But if Cash Patel is in 111% right, Adam Schiff's in the top 3. Without a doubt. And nobody pops in my mind that's a bigger fraud than that right off the get-go. And it's about time. We have the people in the Trump administration and Trump 2.0 got some spine, got some balls. Again, they don't back up. They don't back down.
Disgrace to this
thing's to high
institution
heaven.
and an utter coward.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised
I'm
that you continue to lie from your perch
the-
and put on a show
view
so you can go raise money for your
for good
charade.
reason.
You are a political buffoon at best.
Correct. That There's never been a truer statement that's been uttered in the U.S. Senate than Adam Schiff is nothing but a political buffoon at best. Gotta love Kash Patel of not backing up, not backing down. Poor old 91-year-old Charles Grassley, who's chair of the committees, ding, 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 on his gavel.
Well, you can take an internet troll.
Break
make-
to the
you can take
brink
an
that the
internet-
FBI is
you
protecting
can
this
make an
country
internet
and
troll,
the state and
the FBI
citizens of
director
California.
will
We
owe
are
Jeremy
bringing
nothing more
historic
than an
reform.
internet.
Historic. You care about is a child sex predator that was prosecuted by a prior administration, and the Obama Justice Department and the Biden Justice Department did squat. And what did President Trump do? Bring new charges courageously. And what have we done?
Chairman,
Some
take
of the
control of the
most transparent
situation.
FBI director in history.
Take control of the situation.
33,000 pages of information to you.
I believe my guess is Ed Buck is that child predator that Kash Patel is referring to. Could be wrong. He didn't name him by name. But again, go to start page, go.go. Just put in Ed Buck and Adam Schiff.
I challenge you to say anything credibly to the truth. Go ahead and run to the cameras where you want to go now.
Be quiet.
To believe
As you heard Chuck Grassley say there at the end, both of you be quiet. Again, kudos to Kash Patel and not backing up from this Yahoo. Another one, Cory Booker, I believe senator from New Jersey, and Cash went at it.
Patel, in just 8 months, you have assaulted the institutional integrity of the FBI. But I know FBI field agents. I've worked with them in Newark. No matter how truly bad you are, you can't undermine the legacy of agents who fight every day to keep us safe, but you can tarnish the integrity of the agency and undermine the agency's capacity. I believe you're failing as a leader, and that your failure does have serious implications for the safety and security of Americans and our families. We're more vulnerable to domestic and foreign attack because of your failures of leadership. I don't think you're fit to hand the bureau, but here's the thing, Mr. Patel.
Notice how he slams his book. Let me tell you this, Mr. Patel, Mr. Badass Cory Booker, when he's sitting behind a desk.
Think you're not going to be around long. I think this might be your last oversight hearing. Because as much as you supplicate yourself to the will of Donald Trump and not the Constitution of the United States of America, Donald Trump has shown us in his first term and in this term, he is not loyal to people like you. He will cut you loose. This may be the last time I have a hearing with you because I don't think you're long for your job. But I'm going to tell you this. I pray for you. I pray for you.
Oh, now he's trying to be conciliatory. Oh, Trump's going to fire you and all this, but I pray for you. Does that look like the man who has a godly, believes in Jesus' heart? With fire in his eyes and smoke coming out of his ears. Threatening and disputing, not asking questions about, hey, which his hearing was about what did you know or what do you got? What can you tell us on the Charlie Kirk assassination?
That you can step up and defend your oath, defend the Constitution, and do a much better job of defending this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do you want to say anything?
Yes, sir.
Boyd?
That rant of false information does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My
You-
God.
If
You're
you
gonna
want to talk
lecture me
about,
fighting this country,
it is
I
my
told
time.
you on your social media posts that
See the evil in Cory Booker's face? After doing, Is Cory Booker Mr. Democrat, Mr. Left Wing, Mr. Antifa, Black Lives Matter supporter, all that, loves Tyler Robinson and the shooters at the school, Minneapolis school, and crooks who shot at Trump? That's what you're seeing in the face over there. That's the unity they want. They don't want unity. They want to shove unity up your ass and make you a slave and make you control. We'll get to that with Yuri Bezmenov here in a minute.
It is
Tear
my
the country
time
apart.
to address
Yeah,
your
you-
goods.
Oh, you
You
heard
are an
about-
embarrassment to the division in this country.
Senator,
It is my time.
for
You
one
had your
percent.
time.
Sir, you're
Your time is over.
Committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over.
You
The
know how
people
far
of New
we've
Jersey
come
tell me
since
what
your
my time
time.
is.
Senator-
You can't lecture me.
You can tell me my time.
You maybe the charge you
I'm
have
not
to
going anywhere.
I am not afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman,
Threatening. Look at that. Look at Cory Booker. You Occupy Democrats, you want to OD on Occupy Democrats. You are the party of hate, dissension. Adam Schiff, Cory Booker, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. We're going to get them son of a bitches, Gavin Newsom.
Afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Senator Booker, I announced at the beginning of this meeting that this back and forth, talking over each other doesn't work. And I said, if that happened, I asked Patel not to respond, and I was going to give him some time after the senator's time was.
He should have threw Cory Booker's ass out of the Senate. Said, when you can conduct yourself like a U.S. Senator from New Jersey, then you can come back here and sit in the seat and ask some questions. Ask questions about the subject, not run the flames of hate in the U.S. Senate. We're not tolerating it. So get your ass out of here. Guards, take him out. After he's made his display, and let him go cool off a little bit, and maybe put him in the penalty box. Not stifling his speech, put him in the penalty box like you would a 5-year-old. Said, now think about what you just did. It's absolutely okay. And 1000% unacceptable. We're not tolerating the hate, the dissension, because we want Charlie Kirk to live. We want the principles he, from George Washington to Charlie Kirk, espoused. And it's about time we all got a dose of reality. Like Mr. Nose Ring just got. All these crocodile tears being, oh, I got fired and it's not justified and they're mean to me. I believe, and I think he states later, this dude works for Microsoft. Did. Oh, was dancing on the grave of Charlie Kirk.
I made some stupid comments about Charlie Kirk on the day that he was shot. I said some things on Blue Sky and on Threads that I'm sorry, not sorry for, but I said them.
I'm sorry, not sorry for. Then you meant them. He just, even after taking them, and didn't have the guts to leave them up, deleted them, and he claimed. Oh, I'm sorry, not sorry. You know, you can run around with your little nose rings and your little horn ring glasses and your stuff. But you know what? Society, not even individuals, society has a right not to tolerate this crap.
And I deleted them when it was requested that I do so by my employer.
He didn't delete them. Sorry, not sorry. He meant every frickin' word of it. The evidence, I believe, clearly shows.
And then today, on a weekend,
Oh, here come
on a
the
weekend,
tears.
I'm told that I am no longer employed at Microsoft.
I'm no longer employed at Microsoft. Bill Gates is firing your ass. Mr. Establishment. Vaccine, eating fake food, the whole frickin' 9 yards. And he's firing your ass, and you're like, oh, Holly. No balls. Should have left him up. Well, what if you meant it? You should have told your employer, what, free political speech. I'm leaving him up. That's what I believe. Stand your ground. No, you run and hide, you whine and cry like a coddled little. You know what you are, and probably we've raised practically a majority of a generation of nuts like this.
After 6 years, building the diversity, equity, and inclusion department from scratch.
Oh, we could have never guessed. We could have never guessed this guy that built the diversity, equity, and inclusion is dancing on the grave, praising, happy as a clam that Charlie Kirk got assassinated. There is no way any school district, government agency, company that promotes any of this stuff, that has diversity, equity, inclusion stuff, you should end it right now. This is what these are your diversity, equity, and inclusion. Barbara DeAngelis and all that crap.
I lose my job because one of you, some random person, reports my posts to my employer, goes out of their way to find out where I work and takes my job.
Take my job. No, it wasn't one person. It was you. It was you, a-hole, that posted hatred, vitriol, vile stuff on the internet. And you were proud of it. I'm more surprised Gates and Microsoft fired your ass. Should have never hired you. Should have never 6 years ago. Well, just before COVID. Oh, we're diversity, equity, inclusion. Stuff all that stuff up your ass. And at least be a man about it. Say, yeah, that's what I believed in. And I'm going down with the ship. No, you're whining like a little bitch.
Takes my security away from me for a thought, for an opinion, and you talk about freedom of speech like you care about it. And you're just going to take my money, my life, my food off my plate because I don't like Charlie Kirk? That's not okay.
It's not okay. No. People don't want employers, employees, companies, people like you running Microsoft or teaching their kids or being nurses or whatever. Zero. We're done with it. Like the folks at Mullins Race Engines. if you're supporting any of this crap, we don't want your business. We're not doing business with companies if you're supporting this. Now there, Mullins has got some balls, got some integrity, got some conscience, principles. No, we're not tolerating any of this kind of vitriol. So go cry your crocodile tears. Maybe somebody will hire you to clean out the toilets, which is about what you're qualified to do.
It is not okay to target me because I felt joy that day. I can't help how I feel.
I felt joy that day. I can't help how I feel. That's how much more do you need to know? Companies, governments, schools, churches. Everybody can do what they want, but you don't have to associate with people like this. You don't have to employ them. I can't help the way I feel. He does that. That is the amount of evil that we have running in our society today. And if we don't fix it, if more people don't stand up like Mullins, racing engines, like Trump, like Stephen Miller, like Charlie Kirk did, like Kash Patel did on the Senate floor, then we will just be, we're going to run by the destruction and we've seen in world history how that can play out. It's not hyperbole. This is not trying to do anything but pointing out what's going on in the real world. We ran that little clip of beginning of Yuri Brezhnev. He defected from the Soviet Union. He was a KGB agent in the late 70s. The one good thing about the net is you can find things like this. Here's Yuri Brezhnev describing what the communist takeover of America was all about 40 years ago and how they were going to do it.
Which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. There's nothing to do with espionage. I know that espionage intelligence gathering looks more romantic. It sells more deodorants through the advertising, probably. That's why your Hollywood producers are so crazy about James Bond type of thrillers. But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process, which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country.
what did we run through yesterday with Dr. Kelly Victory? Karl Marx. Just confused the hell out of everyone. Right is left, left is right. Girls are boys, boys are girls. You can come up and you can be a furry today. You think you can be a cat, a dog, an alligator, a wolf. You can just make up your own deal and we will stamp it. This is causing the confusion Yuri Brezhnov is talking about. This is what you want to know what Putin and ping pong over there in China are doing. It's exactly. And the Chinese are much better at this than the Russians. That's why it makes them so much more dangerous.
The great brainwashing process, which goes very slow, and it's divided in four basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the idea.
Right there. Now, it took them longer. It took them almost 30 years to put this into place. They were trying to do it, but we resisted up till about, you can mark this when, guess who? Barack Hussein Obama became president in 2008. They had their man to execute that. What did they say? Oh, Barack, this is the confusion. Oh, Barack Obama's going to end racism and everybody's going to get along and all that. He was the biggest race baiter, hater, divider that's ever been president of the United States of America. And he was sent in there to do that job. Go back and look at the stuff when he was running, when he was a senator, when he in what from 05 to 08, when he was running for president in 07, his 8 years as presidency. What did they convince everybody? They white guilted those, especially the ladies. Oh, and then, they looked at us, you mean white big hillbillies? You just don't like him because he's black. Well, now you're here. Now your kids are stupid, got earrings in them, and praising the death of another person, of assassinating somebody they don't like.
Ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of people.
So we're going to pick this up on the other side when we join the Mighty Met KMET 1490. But you're seeing it. You're seeing it live and in living color. Beyond the pale. And I don't know how we're going to stop this, but we're going to figure it out. We're not going to let Mr. Nose Ring to ping pong or Putin pulled us off. Maybe we had to go through the events we've had to do this week to catch our attention. It would be, maybe it's sad that we had to do that,
30 seconds, Roy.
but maybe we didn't have, maybe that is someone telling us, slapping us across the face, telling us to get our S together. We'll be joining the Mighty Met KMET here in a few seconds. We'll pick up with Yuri Brezhnov, the ex-KGB agent who said and outlined how the communists were going to take over America. And boy, we are living it today.
There we go, 10 seconds.
Support America. PatriotSwitch.com.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
It comes on every Monday through Friday, live 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire and the aforementioned AM band. Join your vast video audience in the Evil B Network, Rumble, X, YouTube, Roy Blicker channel. Check us out, subscribe to all that good stuff on that. Tyler Robinson, accused assassin of Charlie Kirk, was in court today, was read what the charges were. Judge said, yeah, you qualify to have a court-appointed attorney. So one of the things was the little love letters that were going across between him and Twiggs. Some interesting stuff. The clash of Kash Patel, Senators Adam Schiff and Cory Booker. Like you said, there's maybe if it isn't one, it's 1A or in the top 3. Greatest thing of Trump presidency 2.0. All of his head cabinet officials, appointees, don't back down for nothing. Kash took it right back to Cory Booker, Adam Schiff, and you can see where the hate is. Like little Mr. Nose Ring that got fired. The diversity and equity inclusion guy that set it all up. And was happier than he's ever been that Charlie Kirk got assassinated, and Microsoft, Bill Gates fired his ass, and he's crying crocodile tears and this and that. We know, we have documented proof where the hate, where the vitriol, where the vile is coming from, and who's doing it. Now we're going to tell you why. Yuri Brezhnov defected from the KGB back in the late 70s, came to the United States. As we said, this is one good thing about the net. He started off, he said, hey, you better pay attention. And like we've said before many times, they're going after the youth, and this is why. Now, it's taken them longer than they did, but when they really started perfecting it, when they convinced a majority of Americans that Barack Hussein Obama was the savior, the Messiah, was going to end racism, when he was the biggest racist we've ever had as president of the United States, as leader of the free world, and he was in there, and that is what set us on this path of little whiny bleeps like Mr. Nose Ring, or all the ones that are crying and whining and getting fired and everything. We don't want to incite violence, but again, Charlie Kirk didn't back down, Trump doesn't back down, Kash Patel didn't back down. I hope a majority of Americans are back to where we're not going to back down. Here's more of the interview with Yuri Brezhnov, KGB agent who defected to the United States. Here we go.
Patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place and
Yeah.
who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept,
Mhm.
these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country.
Most of them, yes, simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice.
This is back in 1984. Equality and social justice. What do you hear now? Again, like Karl Marx is confused. Diversity, equity, and conclusion. Social justice. All this other crap they've been selling you the lie, like the COVID lie and everything else. Like I said, they've been selling you a lie that a boy is a girl and a girl is a boy. If they know if they can convince you of that, they got you by the short hairs. They're going to rule by fear, intimidation. Intimidation don't work. Fear's coming. We saw fear last Wednesday. That's what it was incited to do.
Obviously, they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality.
Again, what he's explaining is exactly what the Twilight Zone said in 1961, the obsolete man. Yeah, you might be the Jane Fondas and the Ellsbergs and this and that. Yeah, they might be benefit, but when they're done with you, you're expendable. Or if you're in their way, they will take you out until they get a majority to comply. Again, Khrushchev, all those guys, Stalin, they didn't have the fortitude to do this. Reagan stopped them. But now they came back stronger. They found the guy to do it, and that was Barack Hussein Obama.
This they don't understand, and it will be greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years. Actually, it's overfulfilled because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before,
most of it is done by Americans to Americans. Why do you think Biden let the Black Lives Matters and the riots and the George Floyd deal roll? Americans against Americans. Yeah, I can just walk in and take your property by force and not compensate you for it. We will instill fear in you if you don't let us in, we will torch, kill you, do whatever we have to do. When you hear Stephen Miller or Trump or Kash Patel saying, yeah, we're going after these guys that have been subversive, the behind the scenes puppet masters that have been playing this out.
Exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom.
Doesn't this sound exactly like the COVID con? No matter what information, prove your case. What is the science that says 6 foot distancing? What has changed because it's never worked, or mask work to stop this stuff, or that this shot, the clot shot, was going to protect you from everything? All they could do from the F word down was shout you down and discredit you and call you a liar and you don't know what you're talking about and you're an idiot. Show us the evidence that you're right. What they convinced almost 80% of Americans to take that shot, at least one. Now it's no. After they're seeing the evidence of it, now it's no wonder 1 in 6 parents are saying, hey, you ain't vaccinating my kid.
When a military boot crashes, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. So basically, America is stuck with demoralization. And unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism.
We have no proof, bigger proof than that. Look, we elected, after the 8 years of reign of terror of Barack Hussein Obama, we got 4 years of Trump, and what do we? Complete fascist vitriol, all that. Got the COVID con. They installed Joe Biden in a crooked election, a stolen election. And we got 4 years as president of the United States and leader, supposedly, of the free world, who had diminished mental capacity. Now we got it back, and you see their reaction to it. Just what's it been, 7 months? Culminating to what happened this week. And like he said, it's going to take, you better have a long distance view of this. It's going to take many years, if not decades, like he's talking about, 15 to 20 years. It can be done sooner, depending on how much. If men especially are going to grow some balls and quit walking down and having them hacked off and walking around as eunuchs is best.
The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, it doesn't matter anymore. This time, and
after they made you fat, dumb, and happy, we're calling this like it is. Go back and look at pictures from 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. I don't care what age group, look in the schools, look in the beaches, we've done it. Look it in the stores. Go look at the concert. Look at what's happened to Americans. Looks like they stuck a Schrader valve, that's the valve that fills up your tires, and pumped everybody up to 350 PSI. That's with the crappy food, the GMO, the chemicals, and everything else. Again, I don't agree with Bobby Jr. on some things, but he's 111% right on that kind of stuff. You better get it out of your diet.
it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation. It's what matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized."
Normalized. That's what they want. That's why all the confusion and everything in that. No, you're a racist, homophobe, destruction of the straight white male. Who's going to be resisting it the most? That's who they're going to. Well, we'll start knocking these. We're going to use everybody else to knock them down. And then we're going to call this normal. It's normal to walk around with a nose ring and preach diversity, equity, and inclusion when if you're at Microsoft, hey, Microsoft, why don't you make your products work right? Why don't you go, when you hit the button to turn it on, that's all you have to do instead of going through 47 steps. But they've made that normal. You're accepting it now. You're accepting all this constant confusion. It's got you doing this and that. And you don't even know what's up or down, and they're doing this. You're going, that's what that guy's job was for. He was there to make the abnormal normal. It's what Yuri Brezhnev told us 40 years ago.
This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. He will go to Moscow to kiss the bottoms of new generation of Soviet assassins. Never mind. He will create false illusions that the situation is under control. Situation is not under control. Situation is disgustingly out of control. Most of the American politicians, media, and educational system trains another generation of people who think they are living at a peacetime. False. United States is in the state of war.
The educational system and the politicians will convince you peacetime is war. Why do you think we spent $80 trillion over there in Sandland? They had to destroy the free market. The free market, which would give you the freedom and liberty, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which landed you in the greatest country in the history of the world that was started in 1776. On those principles, they had to destroy them. Trump is trying to bring them back. He's put people in place to do that. It's up to us to support them. If we don't, the abnormal will be normalized. All you very weak men that will not go out there and defend the women who are getting assaulted, whether physically or mentally every day, you are the biggest part of the problem. Because that's why you, the retarded half the population, was put on this earth to prevent that from happening. To prevent what is happening in the U.S., what Yuri Brezhnev has told us, what George Washington and them said was why we're dumping the tea bags in the Boston Harbor and telling King George to go F himself. To that, to a whiny little nose ring, little piece of you know what, whining and crying because he got fired because he was so overjoyed that Charlie Kirk got assassinated. The choice is yours. You can stand up like Mullins Race Engines and say anybody that's doing that or in that, we don't want your business. We're not associating with you. We're not helping you out. In fact, we're going to fight you with everything we got. Let's hope that people are up to taking a stand. Sit back and watch or listen to the Yuri Brezhnovs, the Thomas Sowells, the Donald Trumps that are trying like heck to get your attention. It was some of the local genre of news coming in. Eastville Set Team picked up this gal who allegedly, excuse me, allegedly stole $4,500 worth of Legos across stores. Yes. I mean, holy cow. Tuxie's Cruise Night will be on Friday, September 12th. No, that was us. Why am I putting that up there? That was last Friday. I'm behind. Ignore that one. $5 million reward for Sinaloa cartel member on the loose. The Drug Administration Agency is looking for that guy. Fit for All is coming to San Jacinto. The first classes are starting this evening with 6 ones in the fitness court. Roll off a few of those pounds so you can get into fighting weight. There's, back in the late 1800s, there's downtown Corona. Paris Food Truck Festival is canceled, which was going on every Wednesday at the Railway Museum for lack of participation. Our meme of the day, the greatest threat to freedom is when people are too afraid to speak their minds. Charlie Kirk. Freedom. That shirt he was wearing, that's all it said. On his last day, his last breath on earth. That should say it all right there. If that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will. I think it has. Hopefully, we have everybody's attention. Got to head to the city zoo, otherwise known to the city council, for the Marina Valley Council meeting. Do something productive. Take it away, Sean.
All right, Roy. Well, have fun at the council meeting.
Yeah, I think the Zoom stayed on, but it was going crazy again on my end. So it looked like it stayed on all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I also tested out with Paul.